Hello and welcome to my channel, The Reading Life. And I am so excited. This is the first month of this channel where I'm going to share my experiences in reading books that I love to read or I need to read for pleasure or for improving my writing. So just to give you an idea what the reading life is all about. So basically I'm a writer, right? But all of us, I think we're living a double life. So my double life, my other life is actually reading. So I love reading even when I was young. I mean, even before, when I was young, I think I fell in love with books. I fell in love with reading first before writing. So I wanted to go back to the childhood or to the time where I really loved to read books and talking about books and sharing my experiences after reading a particular book. And this month is very special for me because this is the first month where I'm going to post several videos of my review of the books that I've read recently or that I will read for the month of September. Now, for this video, I just want to introduce with you the books that I gathered for the last 3 months or so, okay, and started to read. And we're going to talk about it. I'm going to review all these books this month of September. Now, 12 books. Okay, it's here. It's so huge and it's so big, and there's a lot of them. 12 books that we're going to talk about for the rest of September. This is my reading list for the month of September. I'm sorry. Oh my God, what's happening to me? Okay, so but for tonight, for this video, I'm going to introduce to you like snippets about this book and why did I choose it for the month of September, and then why did I include these books in my reading list. So we're going to start I'm going to start introducing these books to you, and then subscribe on my channel, follow my channel, wait for my review, and then of course I will wait also for your responses or for your feedback, or share also your thoughts if you'll be able to read these books that I'm going to read and review for the month of September. Are you ready? Okay, let's start. Okay, so the first book is Resistance by the Brazilian author Julian Fuchs. Okay, and why am I interested in this book? I just read an essay about Julian Fuchs. Actually, he's about my age, and he published several books already in Brazil, in Portuguese. I think it's the language of Brazil. And then there were some of his books were translated to the English language by Daniel Han. Now, I am really interested with this book because this is contemporary and Brazilian literature, and this particular book actually tells about the experiences of, I think, closer to Julian Fuchs, of a family. It tells about a family who left Argentina during the former dictator and then moved to Brazil, and then they started to have a family there, and then the story is being told from the point of view of the youngest child of, I think, of the couple, and of the couple who moved from Argentina to Brazil. So I'm really interested on the experiences of those people who fled their country for political reasons and then tried to begin their lives in another country. So Julian Fuchs, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I think is a very interesting author, contemporary author writing in Brazil today. So that's why I'm going to read this book for the month of September and review it in the reading life. Okay, the next book is by a French author, David Diop, and he's a French author, but with a heritage from Senegalese. And At Night All Blood is Black. This was published like within the 2 years or last year, and it won the 2001 International Booker Prize. This book is very interesting because it tells about the story of Senegalese soldiers fighting for the French against the Germans during World War One. So it talks about war, masculinity, and I think colonialism and racism. So this is a very slim book also, and like this, the Resistance. I got this book also from my favorite bookshop, the London Review of Books bookshop. Okay, because it's closer to my place of work. Now, the third book, so the first one is from Brazil, the second one is from France, but it tells the story of people from Senegal. Third book is a very interesting book written by Hamid Ismailov from Central Asia. So the title is Manaschi, and then this is published by the Tilted Axis Press. I actually started reading the book. I'm halfway through it, and this is the story of people from Kyrgyzstan, that region in Central Asia, the Kyrgyzstan countries or nations, and it tells the story of a man who went back to his village. He was working in the city and went back to the village and started to reacquainted with the culture, the nomadic culture of his ancestor. So this is a translated book, translated by Donald Rayfield and equally published by an equally interesting publishing house, the Tilted Axis Press. We'll talk about publishing houses, independent and small press, in another video. Okay, so this is one of the books for September. Now, the next book is also from the Tilted Axis Press, and it's called Panty by Sangeeta Banjopadhyay. I hope I pronounced the name properly. So this is a very challenging and interesting book, a very short book that you can actually finish it in one sitting. It tells the story of a woman who moved to the city, I think it's Calcutta, and then she found in a new apartment, and then she found an old, dirty, moldy panty, and from the former occupants of the apartment, and then she used it. And then this is a very challenging and interesting book because it engages patriarchy in a way that it challenges it with and play with the form of a storytelling. Anyway, we'll talk about this in a very short video of my review about the book. So the next book is actually Panty, and also published by the Tilted Axis Press. Now, the next book is quite an old one like about 2-3 years ago, and it was written by Elif Shafak. 10 minutes 38 seconds, and then Strange Word. I'm sure a lot of people have already read this, but if you're interested with my thoughts about this book, so follow, just subscribe to my channel, and we'll have one episode about this book. So Elif Shafak is a very famous author, Turkish author living in the UK, and then she published books both in English and her native language in Turkey. So this particular book tells the story of interesting people and characters from the underbelly of a very famous Turkish city, Istanbul. So it's a story of people and a story of a city too. Okay, now the next book. This is the most I think challenging because of the length. Is from Clemens Meyer, and from Germany. It's Bricks and Mortar, and I think I got interested with this book. This is a translation, and it is published by Fitzcarraldo Book. If you are really like a real serious collector of book, you should have a Fitzcarraldo editions on your library. So I am interested with this book because it tells something about the late 80s, about the fall of the Berlin Wall. And in that particular period of time, I was very young then. I don't have any idea. I've been to Germany, to Berlin in 2019, and I love the city. But when I was there, I can still see the remnants of the divisions, like structures that were previously, standing, and but they remove it, like the wall. But the city itself, I fell in love with the city. I love Berlin, and this particular novel, I got interested with it because it's very contemporary, but it very new, but novel. But it tells a story of about the sex trade in the big city of the former GDPR. So it's like the Germany before the Berlin Wall, before the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's in 1989 to the present. So I haven't tried reading the book, and this is the first time I will read a Clemens Mayer novel. So this is for the month of September. I think I'm going to read this for about 2 weeks. Okay, now Ways of Going Home is my next novel. It's very short. I can read this in half a day, and it's Alejandro Zambra. Alejandro Zambra was recommended to me by a friend from the Philippines, Jeho. Shout out to Jehu, and he's in the U.S. now. So he told me that, okay, try to read one of the books of Alejandro Zambra, and I think we have one from Brazil. We have one from another country in Latin America. Later, I'm going to share with you. But I would like to know to read something from Chile. So Alejandro Zambra is a Chilean, I think, author. I've never read any of his work, but I'm really curious about this book. So it's about the brutality of Pinochet's regime, and a young boy plays a hide and seek in the suburbs of Santiago in Chile, unaware that his neighbors are becoming entangled in the brutality of Pinochet regimen. Then one night, a mysterious girl appears in his neighborhood and makes a life-changing request. No, so it's a very interesting book, I guess, and it's very short. I don't know why mostly some contemporary Latin American writers are actually writing a very short book, which is really nice for me. And going back to the Resistance, I tried to skim the book, and the chapters are very short and episodic. I tried to read some of the chapters, and I think I will really enjoy these two Latin American books this September. Now, the next book is Nusila Lab. Oh, I started reading this, and to tell you honestly, I'm really struggling to finish the book. So, and I decided to DNF the book, but the literature teacher in me, and the writer in me, it's really hard to write a novel. This September I will endeavor to finish the book and send to you my review. It was written by Agustin Fernandez Maggio from Spain, so this is another translation, and it's for the it's also published by the Fitzcarraldo editions here in London. And Lucila Love is actually part of a series of books, and by Maggio, and translated to the English language, and the translator is Thomas Bonstead, and based here in England. So I will try to finish this September, and then I'll send my review. But initially, I already decided, I'm taking it back to DNF this book. Okay, next book is Let's Go to Pakistan. So this is a collection of stories, and I started reading it actually, and written by Sacha A. Akhtar, Of Necessity and Wanting. This is actually a new book, and it is published by the 87 Press. It's a small independent press based in South London. Now, Sacha Akhtar she's a poet too, and I have never read some of her poems, but I read this opening stories of this book, and I'm very curious. And for this September, I'm going to have a review of Necessity and Wanting by Sacha A. Akhtar, and this is from Pakistan. And Another book for this September, published by the 87 Press, is Oscar Guardiola Rivera. And I started reading this book. This is the book one of the Night of the World. This is a very interesting book because it also plays with the form. And I started reading the opening chapters of the book, and I am really I was how should I say, curious on the storytelling, on the character being revealed to me. And this is the first book of the that I will be able to read of Oscar Guardiola Rivera. I met him in 2019. He was one of the our teachers in a summer class at Birkbeck, and he's actually a teacher, a professor, I think, at Birkbeck, or a lecturer at Birkbeck. And his previous books were I think it's more of a social science or nonfiction. So this is the first book of fiction by Oscar Guardiola Rivera, and it's very interesting because at the back cover of the book there is I can relate to it somewhere somehow. There's a blurb from another Filipino author. It's Miguel Sihuco. So Miguel Sihuco has a blurb on this book by Oscar Guardiola Rivera. And what's interesting, it's also the book is being published by a small independent press from South London, the 87 Press. And the next book, and it's a collection of short stories written by Golnoush Noor. She's an Iranian poet slash fictionist based here in London, and the title of the book is Ministry of Guidance and Other Stories. So this book is, the stories of this book were mostly set in Iran, and it's queer, and that is a beautiful thing about this, and very interesting. It's queer and it's set in Iran, and there's one story, it's based in London. So and it was the first book of fiction by I think, of Golnoush Noor. And I'm going to have a very short review of this book in one of the episodes of my channel. But what really interests me with this book is, that's a different rendering of Iran, of Tehran, actually, to be specific. In the queer Iran and Tehran. So something that we don't usually see or read in mainstream media. So this September, I'm going to return to this a very interesting book published by Muswell Press. And look at that, the logo. It's really it's a LGBTQ ally. Okay, so and Golnoush Noor was born in Tehran. Her debut poetry collection, Sorrows of the Sun, was published in 2017. She teaches in my university at Birkbeck and the University of Bedfordshire. Yeah, here's the book, and it's a very nice cover. Now, the last two books for September, one is very popular, Sally Rooney, Normal People. I haven't read this. I bought this book like 4 months ago or 5 months ago, and I read her story, The New Yorker, and I was just curious. Oh, okay, what is it all about? And then, of course, there was a hype, and then me giving into the hype. So I bought a Sally Rooney book. This is the first book of her that I'm going to read. I am excited, and I think it's I love the cover, and it's really like a best-selling book. Look at this, like the million copy bestseller. We'll see. I am excited, and then I know a lot of people have actually done reading this book, but this September we're going to read it. Something fell from the book. I bought actually the book. I bought it from Blackwell, so there's a free bookmark. And the last book for September, and the first month of my reading life, is the book The Clothesline Swing by Ahmad Dani Ramadan. Okay, and Ahmad Dani Ramadan, he's from Syria, and but he's currently he's living now in Canada. So this is the life of queer people in Syria. I mean, I think before, I don't know, I haven't read the book before the war. So for the next month, October and November, I will try to read books, and I will promote it in this channel to read books written by asylum seekers and refugees, people running from one country to another. And this particular book, I got to know Dani Ramadan because I attended one event or one event held by a migrant rights NGO based in Sussex, in Sussex, and then they had Dani Ramadan as as their speaker. So I attended that talk for about an hour and a half, and Dani Ramadan talked about his life, his writing, and then people were given a chance to ask him questions, and I got really interested with because I've never read contemporary novels written by a Syrian author. So so I bought the book, and I'm going to read it this September. So this one was published by the Indigo Press, and it's a very interesting, a back text that the sweetest kisses are the ones we share in forbidden places. Oh, I love it. Everything is forbidden. The kiss I stole from you in the back of a dark cab roaming Damascus while the driver was cursing at checkpoints and wars. The time I pulled you back into the changing room in HMM in Beirut and printed my lips upon yours. The one you gave me as we hid the depths of tall grass on Vancouver's wreck beach. So this is a queer experience of people living in conflict, in places where conflict, or moving from one place to another, finding a safe space to continue their lives. So and I am excited to read this book this September. So these are the 12 books, quite plenty for the month of September, but I think I can finish reading them because some of them are really short and easy to read, and but the others are very some of the books in the collections for September are very they're very challenging, the German book by Clemens Meyer, which is really thick. And so that's for the month of September, and reading for me is a very important part of being a person, okay, of a writer also, and it opens a lot of worlds, okay, for me. So I will read books in translation, novels written in other countries, in different countries aside from from Asia, in my continent or in the West. So please subscribe, and then also as soon as I posted the videos, my reviews of this books, I encourage you also to share your thoughts, and let's talk about book. I think what's the beautiful thing about life, I think one of the beautiful things about life is that we can read books and talk about it. And the good thing about this technology is that wherever you are, we can share our books. So again, welcome to my channel, and let's continue reading books and develop a reading life. And have a great day. See you.